The evening was supposed to be casual, tea, snacks, the usual family chatter that fills the air when people pretend everything's fine. My parents sat together on the old sofa, the one with worn armrests that had seen every argument, every memory. My sister and I faced them, unaware that something irreversible was about to happen. Dad cleared his throat. "We've been thinking about the future," he said. Mom nodded, smiling in that rehearsed way she used when she had news that wouldn't sit well. "It's time we make things clear for everyone." I sipped my tea, waiting. My sister already looked expectant. Dad continued, "We've decided to transfer the house to your sister." For a moment, the room went silent. Even the ticking clock sounded too loud. I stared at them, trying to process what I just heard. Mom smiled at my sister, her voice soft but firm. "You're married now. You'll need security. It's better this way." I set the cup down slowly. "Security? I've lived here my whole life. I've paid half the bills since college. You're giving our home away." Mom sighed. "Don't make this dramatic. You're independent now. You don't need it." My sister avoided eye contact, pretending to rearrange her scarf. "They just thought it was practical," she murmured, almost apologetic, but not quite. Something in me cracked, quietly but cleanly. It wasn't just about a house. It was about being erased from my own family's story. Years of loyalty, of helping when no one else would, dismissed in a single sentence. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I just looked at them, one by one, memorizing the calm certainty on their faces. The decision was already made. My feelings were an afterthought. Dad added, "We hope you'll understand. It's not favoritism. It's planning." I laughed once, low and sharp. "Planning," I repeated. "Right. And I guess I'm just the extra piece on your chessboard." Mom's expression hardened. "Watch your tone." But my tone wasn't anger. It was awakening. Years of small sacrifices, overlooked efforts, swallowed pride. They all came rushing back like a ledger being balanced at last. "Don't worry," I said, standing. "You've made your choice. I'll make mine." I left the room before they could speak. Behind me, I heard the faint murmur of justification, the sound of people convincing themselves they did the right thing. Upstairs, I looked around my old room. The posters, the worn desk, the quiet comfort of belonging, all of it suddenly felt foreign. They'd taken the one place I thought was safe and turned it into proof that I didn't matter. But that's the thing about betrayal. It sharpens you. It doesn't destroy you. It defines what comes next. That night, as they celebrated downstairs with tea and laughter, I sat by the window, making notes. Not angry scribbles, plans, thoughtful, deliberate plans. They thought giving the house to my sister would end the conversation. They didn't realize it was the start of something much bigger. Because this time, I wasn't going to ask for fairness. I was going to create it. The hurt turned into focus. I stopped pacing and started listing facts. Small things first. Every month's bank record I'd quietly paid for the house, the renovations I'd pushed for and paid a chunk of, the nights I stayed up fixing pipes when Dad was away. Those weren't memories anymore. They were receipts. I made copies, bank statements, transfer confirmations, pictures of receipts, a dated timeline of work I'd done. I wrote down names of neighbors who'd seen me meet contractors, the friend who'd helped me move that one summer, the electrician who still had my number. I didn't burn with rage. I organized. Then I did something they never expected. I talked to other people instead of confronting them head on. I called Mr. Khan, the neighbor everyone respected, and asked him to meet for tea. I didn't complain. I asked for perspective. He listened, then said, "If they're splitting the house without fair notice, people will talk. That matters." He agreed to be present if it ever came to a family conversation. Next, I made a quiet appointment with a lawyer not because I wanted a fight, but to understand the facts. I learned two useful things without threatening anyone. One, the transfer Dad spoke of wasn't complete yet. Second, there were practical steps to protect my financial contributions if I could prove them. Knowledge felt like a tool I hadn't had before. I walked into that family living room differently after that. No theatrics, no shouting. I listened when Mom and Dad spoke about their plan for stability. I watched my sister's polite smile tighten each time I mentioned our history in the house, the way she avoided a direct look when I spoke about the winter, when I'd fixed the heater alone. When the next family meeting was suggested, just to finalize some paperwork, I suggested we include Mr. Khan and another cousin who'd always been fair. My parents resisted, then agreed. They thought I was stalling. I wasn't. I was leveling the stage. At the meeting, I didn't accuse. I presented. Calmly, I handed over the folder. Dates, payments, photos, contractor messages. Mom's practiced responses faltered under the simple weight of evidence. "We appreciate what you've done," she said at first, voice smooth as she looked for the script. But the script didn't fit the facts in my folder. My sister reached for her phone, fingers trembling. "I didn't know you paid so much," she admitted. It wasn't an apology, not yet, but the doubt had crept in. Dad cleared his throat, the old authority trying to reassert itself. "We thought this would be easier for everyone if we just decided." He looked at Mr. Khan and the cousin, hunting for validation. They exchanged glances that felt like tiny verdicts. I proposed a simple path forward. Either formalize what had always been true, that my contributions be recognized in the ownership plan, or sell the house and split the proceeds fairly. No melodrama, just options that respected facts. Silence pressed down. My parents shifted. My sister's husband, who had been smugly confident, was the first to speak up, not in my favor. He argued for stability and tradition, words meant to protect the gift they wanted to claim. But with neighbors and a lawyer quietly in the wings, those words lost some weight. They tried to guilt me into appearing grateful. I didn't yield. I spoke plainly. Respect and fairness mattered more to me than anyone's comfort. If that made me difficult, so be it. When I left the meeting, nothing had been decided. That was intentional. I hadn't rushed them into a corner. I'd shown I had a process, witnesses, and the patience to pursue it properly. I'd made it clear that the easy path for them, unilateral transfer, would no longer be unchallenged. And as I walked through the front door of my own life, I felt something new, not triumph, not yet, but the quiet certainty that this time I'd shape the outcome. They had chosen to gift the house to my sister. I had chosen to make sure choice had to answer to what was true. 2 weeks later, Dad called. His voice was softer than I remembered. "Can you come by? We need to talk." When I arrived, the house felt different. Quieter. My sister sat on the sofa, eyes down. Mom didn't meet my gaze. The folder I'd shown them before lay on the table, opened, marked, discussed. Dad cleared his throat. "We went through everything," he said. "We didn't realize how much you'd contributed. It wasn't fair of us to make that decision without you." Mom spoke next, voice low. "We thought we were doing what was best for your sister, but we forgot what you've done for us. You deserve your share." It wasn't dramatic, but the air carried weight. For years I'd wanted them to see me, not as the quiet one who'd managed somehow, but as someone who mattered. And in that moment they did. We decided the house would remain in both our names. Fair, documented, final. My sister didn't argue this time. Maybe she'd finally understood that love isn't built on taking advantage of someone's silence. As we signed the new papers, Mom looked at me with damp eyes. "You handled this better than we did," she said. I didn't reply. Some wounds don't need words, just acknowledgement. That night, I stood by the window again, same as I had the day they announced the house was hers. The difference was subtle but real, peace instead of bitterness. I hadn't needed to shout, threaten, or cut ties. I'd won by staying calm, by refusing to be erased. Revenge didn't come as destruction. It came as dignity. And as I turned off the lights and locked the door, I smiled, not because I'd reclaimed the house, but because I'd reclaimed myself.